Hello and welcome everyone to Papa Hector's podcast. Today's topic is how to overcome the fear of being judged. So before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to this podcast over at Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm, Stitcher, Spotify. We're also on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Hungan Hector, HOUNGAN HECTOR. And you can also check me out at hectorsalva.com, where we have our blog and all our services and all that good stuff. So let's dive in. How to overcome the fear of being judged. The fear of being judged is very common. Very, very common, and it's a problem that a lot of people suffer with. A lot of people are suffering with the fear of being judged. And if you're suffering with the fear of being judged, you can see how this fear controls you, and you actually end up little by little controlled by other people's judgments. Not only does it control you, but it creates anxiety, self-doubt, breaking down of the self, and a whole host of other problems. Now, not that long ago, I had someone who had exactly this problem. And it had grown so tremendously that the fear of being judged and the possibility of being judged controlled this person so much, created constant anxiety, even a paranoia about being judged and what were people thinking and what were they doing and how were they judging him. And it really started to overtake his life, as well as make him more and more shut in, starting to affect his ability to connect and have relationships and connections with other people. Naturally, that's going to affect his job, which it did, and his ability to rise in his position as well as in his company. This constant annoying fear that people were judging him negatively or judging him based on X, Y, or Z caused lots of obstacles and blockages, created areas in which he wasn't able to proceed. And it had slowly happened over time by having actually been judged a whole bunch of times. Enough times where it broke this person down and started to really create that fear within him of being judged all the time. So the truth is that judgment does exist and it happens all the time. It's very regular. In fact, you judge all the time and many people are judging you. Judgment is a regular thing that happens in this world. It's a part of the human processes. And when many judgments happen very negatively impacting you, negatively impacting your life, however, it can often create a breakdown where you end up constantly being afraid of being judged and what are other people thinking, what will they think if you say or do, so on and so on and so forth, creating a sense of paranoia at times towards other people's thoughts. Okay. Now, there's lots of tips and tricks out there to overcome the fear of being judged. Some of them are like build your self-confidence. Some of them are like exercise more. Some of them are like basically get more skills, right? And all those things actually do help and they do assist in kind of letting go of some of the fear of being judged. But they're not really the complete solution, and they're not going to be able to give you the complete solution. Because really, overcoming the fear of being judged is a process. And that process breaks down into a few steps. But those very few steps are able to totally transform this constant paranoia of being judged, like it did with this person who I had here. After working with him for less than 6 months, the paranoia had dropped. The paranoia and the fear had dropped, and he noticed himself having freedom. Okay? He stopped being controlled constantly, and his mind being constantly infected and controlled by the thoughts of what the others may be judging him on, or what judgments may be being passed upon him. He became clear, and clear of other people's judgments, clear of the self-judging that was going on, because the fear of being judged creates a self-judgment system. There's tons of self-judgment that goes into the fear of being judged. The fear of being judged actually has many, many layers to it. And there are little working parts that all fit together that make that machine or that monster that works against you. Okay? So he had tried therapy. He had tried counseling, coaching, and all types of other techniques to get rid of this fear that was blocking him. And unfortunately, none of that worked, and it's not going to work because those techniques don't address the core issue. Until the core issue is fully addressed and resolved, and we start to bring that forward and bring that to light, okay, that can't be resolved for him or for you. So the truth about therapy, counseling, so on and so forth, motivational speaking, okay, is that it's a temporary release. It's a release of the pressure. It's a temporary boost in confidence, boost in motivation. It's a temporary valve pressure release. But the core issue that's causing the problem and causing the pot to constantly boil is not being dealt with. And because that's not being dealt with, the pressure will resume after some time. And again, you will need counseling or therapy or psychotherapy, psychology, motivational speech, and so on and so on and so forth. Okay? So those things don't resolve when it comes to truly resolving issues with fears, issues with anxieties, paranoias, or any of these other host of issues that they claim to resolve. In fact, many, many people that I work with are in fact people who are in all of those professions and have many of the issues that they're trying to resolve for others. And I've worked with many and we've resolved it for them. But professionally, that's what they do. So, how to overcome the fear of being judged? Basically, it boils down to healing the core issues. And the truth is that a lot of the healing, quote unquote, modalities out there, a lot of things that claim to heal are not healing. They're just simply pressure valve releasers. They're not truly going deep down into the core and getting things fully, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, totally, 100% holistically resolved. And if things are not being dealt with holistically on all levels, we can't expect a holistic resolution. So we have to heal many of those core issues, and those healings, okay, happen through the essential wisdom and the essential sciences, the essential spiritual practices that we have in order to get those things that cause the issues to be resolved. These are very specific processes and technologies, okay, that work to resolve that at the core. Secondly, we need to bring forth, okay, at least on some level, a realization of the true nature of who you are. However, this can't be a temporary thing. So it has to be a real thing. And to overcome the fear of being judged, you have to really be able to really see who you really are, essentially. Now, the trick is, there's lots of tricks involved in this situation. Okay? But what is essential? The essence of who you are is invisible to your eyes. Okay? What is essential is invisible to your eyes. Your heart is essential. Air is essential. What is truly essential down at the core and at the essence of things is invisible to your eyes. So that healing, along with the realization, and in this, what we're saying is to make real. We're not just saying an aha moment. You have aha moments all the time, and those aha moments lead nowhere, and you end up with the same problems, the same issues. You do a lot of the same things over and over, even though you might have had 1,000,001 ahas about it. 1,000,001 epiphanies. A realization in what we're saying in a realization is to make real, not to have an epiphany. An epiphany can be part of a realization, but an epiphany is not a realization. Okay? An epiphany is that aha. Wow, you just realized something. You just seen something. Really, really seen it. But to realize, we have to get you to self-realization. To make the self real. To make that which is essential to you. That which is at your core essence real. And when we say real, we mean bringing it forward. But again, if you're dealing with the fear of being judged, that's not something you're going to be able to usually self-motivate yourself to go ahead and do. Even though there's many techniques and tips out there about different things you should do. Go out more. Talk to more people. Let it go. If it were that easy, you would have done so already. If it were that easy, you would have done so already, which is a common saying in our tradition. So, instead, okay, that inner piece of you, that which is essential, has to be brought forward. And that has to happen through the proper healing. Through the proper healing, you can then start to overcome the fear of being judged. You will overcome the fear of being judged. The person that we worked with no longer deals with the fear of being judged. He's no longer controlled. He's no longer paranoid. He's no longer wondering what people are thinking. He's able to just go ahead and live and do that which he wants, not constantly under an invisible control that exists when you're in that fear pattern. Many quote unquote healing modalities are incomplete. And so you can't give a complete healing with an incomplete system. An incomplete system cannot heal the complete system of a person. And many quote unquote healing modalities, spiritual or holistic healing techniques are incomplete. Being incomplete, many of them are ungrounded. Being ungrounded, okay, they can't manifest viable and regular results. But when you're using the inner tech, the proper inner tech, okay, which is the technology of the spirit, the true technology of the spirit, then it becomes really simple. It becomes really easy. It's like flipping a light switch. But rather than the light shutting on and then shutting back off and having that temporary aha, the light switch is turned on and kept on. And so then you can see what is essential, the core essence. Then you can be free of people's judgments. You can be free of that control. And you can be free to have real control in situations and start doing more of what you want to do. You stop being dominated by this constant worry, this constant thinking, this obsessive energy that goes and dominates every part of your being and makes your decisions. Fear of being judged happens on many various levels. Sometimes the levels are more obvious. For some people it's more obvious. For some people it's more subtle. And there are times in which your decisions, what you do and what you don't do, many times, is not only being decided by you, but in fact, it's being decided by you, but factoring in all the fears of judgments of others. It becomes a natural thing for you to take all those things into account before making a decision. And so then that actually controls your decisions rather than you controlling your decisions. And then it can become a pattern, and slowly underneath the eye, meaning not even being seen. Remember, what is essential is invisible to the eyes. Okay? So what is essential is invisible to the eyes. And so what's essentially controlling your decisions, what's essentially making you do certain things that may or may not always be in your best interest, may be invisible to you. And many, many times, the fear of being judged and what people may say, may think, may do is impacting our own decisions, how we think, how we see things, and how we move and live. The fact is, even if people are judging you, the majority of them don't have the space to judge you. The majority of them don't have the space to judge you. And what I'm saying by that is they don't have the room to talk, as we say. They have many areas in which they could also be judged. But they're also not seeing what is essential. So they cannot judge you correctly. Their judgments are off. Because they're looking through their eyes. And by looking through their eyes, they can't see what is essential, which is invincible to them. What is the essence of who you are? What's the truth of who you are? And what's the true part of you? The true part of your nature? Who and what you really are? The truest part of your being, your essence. They're judging you on what is non-essential, what is non-essence, what is not your essence. And so their judgments are incorrect. But again, oftentimes, even though you can't see, remember, it's invisible to your eyes, what's going on with that person. They can also be going through and dealing with what you're dealing with. And again, judgments, invisible judgments, invisible perceptions, invisible fears are also controlling them and how they see you, how they judge you, so on and so forth. I hope this podcast has helped you. If you need help, if you're dealing with the fear of being judged, if you've tried everything and you failed, you're still constantly being controlled by the fear of being judged, okay? You're still have anxiety or even paranoia because of the possibility of judgment going on for you. Go ahead, and the first step is to have a consultation with us. Contact us. And my contact is all over the website, all my websites. So contact us. Phone, email, or one of the many inboxes. And let's see how we can get you over the hill. Let's get you free of this constant fear. Because this fear is very powerful and it's very controlling. It has the essence, it has what's needed in order to really take over your life. If you're not dealing with this issue, many blessings. But I want you to take a closer look. Really, take a closer look. Because, like I said in this podcast, many times you may not think that you're dealing with this issue. But in reality, it's impacting you in a much more insidious way than you realize. Many blessings, and keep the faith.